For decades, there was a magic number securely embedded in the American psyche. You know the one, $100,000. For a long time, it was the finish line, the golden ticket, the undeniable mathematical proof that you had finally, truly made it out of the struggle. But, look around today and you are going to see a completely different reality hiding in plain sight. You see people driving luxury cars, right? But behind the wheel, they are secretly terrified to even check their bank balances. You see dual-income families living in these beautiful, picture-perfect suburban homes. But what you don't see is that they are quietly selling off personal items online just to cover an unexpected medical bill. It turns out, everything we have been taught about the six-figure milestone is a carefully constructed illusion. Today, we are going to look at the structural reality of the modern American economy. We're going to dive into the raw math they absolutely do not teach you in school, and trust me, it is not what you think. The rules of wealth have fundamentally changed, and most people are playing a game they don't even realize they've already lost.
You are not broke because you spend too much. The system was never designed for you to win. Let that sink in for a second. For years, financial gurus have confidently blamed your daily coffee, your streaming subscriptions, your alleged lack of discipline, right? They want you to internalize the blame. They want you to think it's a you problem. But the uncomfortable truth is far more systemic. The underlying math of the American dream has been quietly rewritten behind our backs. And in this explainer, we are going to expose exactly how it was done.
Welcome to USA Rift. We're exposing the hidden financial realities of this system, piece by piece, layer by layer. If you want to genuinely understand how money truly works in this country, you are in the exact right place. Do me a favor and subscribe to the channel right now, hit the like button on this explainer, and leave a comment below with your thoughts as we go through this data. And hey, if you want to support our deep dives, join the growing community of people waking up to these truths by becoming a channel member today. It's how we keep exposing what's really going on.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the six-figure illusion.
So, the ultimate American financial goal is no longer what it seems. What was once the definitive marker of upper-middle-class affluence has been quietly, almost invisibly, hollowed out from the inside. Okay, let's dive into this data because it's absolutely wild. As of 2024, an astonishing 41.2% of households in the United States pull in more than $100,000 annually. 41.2%. We're talking about millions upon millions of households here. Nearly half the country is making what used to be considered elite, quote-unquote, rich money. We're looking at dual-income teachers, mid-level software engineers, nurses, small business owners. The median household income is now sitting at $83,730, which means hitting six figures is no longer a rarity. Honestly, it's practically the standard expectation for a dual-income household. But here is the massive catch. Despite these seemingly huge numbers on paper, millions of these high earners are quietly drowning. They are in profound financial distress. They aren't building generational wealth. They aren't acquiring assets like real estate or massive stock portfolios. They are simply treading water in a system that demands more and more of their paycheck every single year. So you have to ask yourself, how is this mathematical paradox even possible?
That brings us to Section 2, Anatomy of the Drain.
To really understand the illusion, you have to look at the mechanisms of extraction. There is a relentless, quiet siphon of wealth that occurs long before a single dollar ever reaches your actual bank account. Let's obsess over the details here for a minute, because the devil is always in the math, right? Look closely at these 2025 federal tax brackets for single filers. It starts at a 10% rate for the first $11,925. Okay, manageable. Then it climbs, 12% up to $48,475. Then boom, 22% up to $103,350. So if you hit that magic $100,000 number, you are firmly planted in that 22% marginal bracket. But as you probably know, the drain does not stop there. Sure, you have a standard deduction of $15,750, which helps a bit, but then you are hit with the relentless payroll taxes. You pay 6.2% for Social Security, specifically the Old Age, Survivors, and Disability Insurance Program, or OSDI. And that aggressively applies to earnings all the way up to $176,100. Then there is the 1.45% Medicare tax. And guess what? That one has absolutely no wage cap whatsoever. So think about this. Before you have even paid for housing or food or electricity, before you have taken a single breath to enjoy your hard-earned success, the system has already methodically extracted a massive percentage of your supposed wealth.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound difference between the marginal rate and the effective rate. People hear they are in the 22% or 24% bracket, and they completely panic.
But the reality of a single filer with $100,000 of taxable income in 2025 is an effective federal tax rate of roughly 16.9%. That means you owe about $16,913 to the federal government before any specific personal credits are applied. But wait, add in that 7.65% for FICA, which is the combination of the Social Security and Medicare taxes we literally just detailed, and you are instantly down nearly a quarter of your entire income. Poof, gone. You aren't managing $100,000 anymore. You are managing roughly $75,000. And keep in mind, we haven't even factored in state taxes, local municipality taxes, or employer-sponsored health insurance premiums yet. The math systematically traps workers right at the starting line.
And looking ahead to 2026, the structural pressure only continues to mount. Let's look at the projected brackets for those married filing jointly. The standard deduction will bump up slightly to $32,200. The 22% bracket will span from $100,801 to $211,400. Now, the government uses these inflation adjustments to supposedly prevent what they call, quote, bracket creep, basically keeping you from jumping into a higher tax bracket just because of standard inflation. Sounds nice, right? But in reality, these adjustments barely keep pace with the real-world erosion of a paycheck. Your nominal income might tick up by 2 or 3% to match their standard metrics, but your actual purchasing power is simultaneously being decimated by costs that rise much, much faster than the government's official inflation index.
Let's move into Section 3, inside the financial vortex. So, what actually happens to the remaining money that somehow makes it into your checking account? Well, it enters a psychological and structural trap that devours whatever is left. Goldman Sachs has coined a brilliant, albeit terrifying, term for this exact phenomenon. They call it the financial vortex. It is a ruthless cycle of competing financial priorities. Think about it. You've got persistently high inflation eating at your grocery bill, unexpected life emergencies popping up out of nowhere, crushing student loan payments that have resumed with a vengeance, expensive auto loans strapped with historically high interest rates. This vortex violently and systematically diverts your funds away from long-term savings or retirement accounts. It essentially forces you into increased debt just to maintain a baseline middle-class standard of living. When you truly understand the mechanics of the financial vortex, you realize something profound. Your inability to save? It isn't a personal flaw. It isn't because you bought a latte or a Tuesday. It is a structural feature of the modern economy.
And absolutely nothing accelerates this vortex quite like the American healthcare system. Medical costs are projected to rise a staggering 8% in 2025 and another 10% in 2026. For high-earning professionals, the forced shift to high-deductible health plans, or HDHPs, has been an absolute catastrophe. And let's be super clear here. These plans are often not a choice you actively make. They are frequently the only option employers even offer because traditional premiums have become entirely unaffordable for the companies themselves. For 2025, the minimum individual deductible on these plans is $1,650. Okay, but the maximum out-of-pocket limit? A staggering $8,300. Think about the brutal math here. A single earner making $100,000 who experiences just one major medical event, maybe a sports accident, an unexpected surgery, a sudden chronic diagnosis, can instantly see nearly 10% of their entire gross salary wiped out in a single hospital stay. And remember, that is with premium, employer-sponsored insurance. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. The geographic wealth trap.
Because where you live fundamentally alters your financial reality. Geography literally weaponizes inflation against high earners. Look closely at this stark, undeniable contrast. Let's say you have a $100,000 salary in Manhattan, New York. After you strip away federal taxes, state taxes, aggressively high local city taxes, and a cost of living that is officially 130.6% higher than the national average, the real, tangible spending power of that six-figure salary is reduced to an unbelievable $30,362. In Manhattan, that barely covers rent. It forces individuals to literally choose between saving for retirement or paying for groceries. Now take that exact same $100,000 salary to Oklahoma City. Factor in their significantly lower taxes and incredibly low cost of living, and your real value sets at $89,989. You have breathing room. You actually have the ability to build wealth. It is the exact same paycheck. But in a coastal Tier 1 city, the system drains it of $70,000 of pure value, reducing it to literal pennies on the dollar.
A sweeping, granular study by Smart Asset mapping 69 of the largest U.S. cities reveals exactly where six figures goes to die. Number 1 is Manhattan, sitting at that brutal $30,362 mark.
Number 2 is Honolulu, Hawaii, where the isolation and importation costs mean $100,000 is worth just $38,609. Number 3 is San Francisco, California, dropping down to $42,128. In these major economic and tech hubs, the punitive local tax structures and exorbitant, hyperinflated housing costs don't just make things tight, they effectively guarantee a paycheck-to-paycheck existence. A $100,000 earner in San Francisco is literally the new working class. This transitions us perfectly into Section 5, the new survival mode. This brings us to the immediate, visceral impact on real people. We are going to expose the quiet desperation hidden behind the luxury cars and the premium zip codes. And this brilliantly illustrates the point. According to a massive new Harris poll, an astounding 64% of six-figure earners explicitly state that making over $100,000 is a survival mode, not a sign of actual wealth. Even more disturbing, 52% of these high earners believe the American dream is no longer possible for them at their current income level. Think about how crazy that sounds. The very milestone they worked their entire adult lives to achieve, studying, grinding, climbing the corporate ladder, now feels like a meticulously engineered trap.
Look at the crushing underlying anxiety of this demographic. 44% of six-figure earners feel like they are exactly one unexpected bill away from absolute financial chaos. And we are not talking about buying a yacht here. We are talking about getting a flat tire on the highway. We're talking about a dental crown, a broken water heater in the middle of February. The anxiety isn't just about the bills themselves. It's about the profound shame of it. And the stress is so suffocating that 40% of these individuals admit they actively avoid checking their bank account balances just to reduce their daily psychological burden. Meanwhile, 57% feel a deep, isolating sense of money guilt. They feel incredibly guilty complaining because they know they theoretically earn more than most Americans. So they just suffer in total, agonizing silence.
This dissonance leads to some seriously hidden behaviors that completely shatter the external illusion of the affluent class. Contrast their day-to-day reality with the curated perfection you see on social media. Behind closed doors, 75% of six-figure earners have used a credit card in the past 3 months simply because they completely ran out of cash. And I don't mean to collect premium airline miles. I mean as a literal, desperate life raft just to make it to payday. 39% are actively using buy now, pay later services for small, basic purchases. Let the absurdity of that sink in. People making over $100,000 are putting $80 worth of groceries on a 4-installment payment plan. They are quietly selling personal items. They are pretending their payment apps aren't working to avoid splitting expensive social tabs with friends. They are quietly rationing their actual lives just to maintain a hollow external image of success. Finally, Section 6, a devalued American milestone. Let's zoom out to the macro scale for a second. All of this granular, deeply personal data points to a massive, structural shift across generations. In 1980, earning $100,000 definitively placed a household in the top 5% of earners nationally. It was undeniable, elite upper-class affluence. It bought a detached home, 2 cars, private college tuition without loans, and multiple annual vacations. By 2025, that exact same number represents baseline urban survival, barely a 2-bedroom apartment rental in a major city. Over the last 40 years, the core, non-negotiable pillars of the American dream, housing, healthcare, and higher education, have skyrocketed at a pace that vastly, violently outstrips the government's standard consumer price index inflation model. The true purchasing power of the 6-figure salary has been completely, systematically hollowed out from the inside.
So the crucial point is this. This is the ultimate cinematic drop of this entire reality. If you want to experience the exact same purchasing power, the exact same lack of financial anxiety, the exact same economic freedom that a $100,000 salary provided in 1980, you must earn $400,000 today. That is the true unvarnished cost of the American dream in the modern era. No way around it.
Which leaves us with this chilling, inescapable reality. The middle class hasn't disappeared. It's just been rebranded as survival. And the worst part? Most people will never realize it. They will just keep running endlessly on the treadmill, waking up early, working late, and blaming themselves for not budgeting better, when the track they are running on is literally being pulled out from under them by structural forces they cannot control.
Do not let the system blind you to how money truly works. If this explainer opened your eyes to the structural realities of the modern American economy, make sure you are officially subscribed to USA Rift. Like this explainer, drop a comment below on how inflation and the geographic wealth trap are affecting the reality in your own city, and become a channel member today to support our continuous deep dives. Before you go, Ask yourself, if the finish line keeps constantly moving, when do you actually win the race? Stay informed, stay focused, and we will see you in the next explainer.